Live from LA or upstate New York, it's the finale recap of Peter Weber's season of The Bachelor. Just an FYI, I am filming this in 2 parts. So right now I'm recapping last night, first night, Monday night. I have not seen the real finale. I don't know anything about what happens. I am just giving you my pure initial reactions to night 1. So we're in Alice Springs, Australia, which is apparently some barren land that Peter says has a mysteriousness that reminds him of falling in love and all of the unknowns and blah blah. Hate those analogies. Then we cut to a clip of Peter's family, and I had just a slight out of body moment there because I could have sworn I saw Peter sitting on the couch talking to his parents, but then Peter walks through the front door. It was his brother on the couch. It spooked me. So he's talking to his parents and telling them everything, pretty much. He's talking about Hannah Ann first, and they come to the conclusion based off his description of her that they are the same person. After they say that, I can sort of see the similarities, but the same person, I don't think that's accurate. Then he moves on to tell his parents about Madison, and he just comes right out and tells them they had a roadblock, which of course is when she found out that he was intimate with someone else, Hannah Ann. And here, I don't know if it was Peter's delivery, but they all just instantly get very judgmental.
Why did she wait so long to tell you? That is a big red flag. And maybe you'll get past it. We can try to get to know her. We trust your judgment.
All the while, they're like, go get Hannah Ann. Yay, we can't wait to meet her. Does this mean they didn't like Madison from the start? Like, during that first date? Because they sure seemed like they did. So he goes and gets Hannah Ann, and when she walks in, she gets all emotional meeting the family, which I thought was cute. She's like a cute little girl that you just want to hug and give her a lollipop. And from the start, in her interview, she says it's her goal to make it known to Peter's parents that she loves their son. And boy, did she deliver. I mean, okay, so they say, what's been the best part about this journey? Oh, just getting to know Peter. And then she cries, talking to his mom about how much she loves him. Instantly, the mom is won over. Hannah's plan, successful. And then she does it again with Dad. When I look at Peter, I look at my heart. But the funny part here is Peter Sr. just says, okay, not like, oh, that's nice. Okay. Now the 2 Peters are talking, and Dad says, Hannah Ann is remarkable. That is a big word. And then he asks him, he's like, what are you lacking, bud? Bud. That's also Peter's second, or perhaps his real name, Bud Weber. And Bud says, no, I'm not lacking anything at all. His only hesitation is Madison still being there. And ultimately, he loves 2 people. Sounds familiar. But then Dad asks if he's leaning one way, and Peter has a mega hesitation. Okay, hesitation to me means yes. And here's the thing. He has no issues with Hannah Ann. Everything is just clear waters. Madison, they've obviously got something to work through. And that's what he's hoping to resolve. So right now, they're kind of on a level playing field. So that tells me if he resolves things with Madison, top of the list. And this is not my bias kicking in either. I think it's the truth. And then Peter starts crying, and Dad says, don't worry, the answer will come. Little did we know at the time, apparently his mom has all the answers. But we'll get to that. Speaking of his mom, as Hannah Ann is leaving, she's just laser focused on Hannah. She can't stop staring at her the whole way out of the house. She loves her. We could tell even before everything happens later. Now, Peter says he loves Hannah Ann, but he can't stop talking about his confusion with Madison. Feels like it's always in, I love this girl, but Madison. But that family meeting did go really well, I thought. They didn't ask her any really tough questions, I didn't think. Not like, how's your modeling career going to fit in with Peter's lifestyle? None of that, just, oh, Hannah Ann, she's so cute and lovely. So then comes Madison's meeting. And this whole thing just started with tension. He greets her in the car, which I forgot. Their last interaction ever, besides the rose ceremony, was when she left because she found out that he was intimate with somebody else, Hannah Ann. And for some reason, with these 2, they always have to play audio of their heartbeats. I think they're really trying to paint this love story for us for some reason. Okay, so they're sitting and talking because they have to resolve their most recent issues. Peter says, how are you? Maddie says, not good. The main arguments were that Maddie pretty much felt betrayed because she expressed herself and her feelings to Peter, let him know the gravity of the situation, and he still made the decision that he did. Now, I love Madison. I kind of disagree with her here. I don't think she did a great job initially of really hammering it in his brain just how heavy the gravity was of this situation. She was probably uncomfortable to talk about it, didn't really think about the best way to approach it, but it was kind of just like, if you're intimate, I don't know how I'm going to feel. It's going to be tough for me to move on. And that was kind of the extent of it. You know, probably normally she could have just given him a call and been like, hey, really got to talk to you about something? No, it's like, oh, Peter's walking away. Better say this fast before he has his first fantasy suite date, or else I'm screwed. No pun intended. So anyway, I think she needs to be a little bit more understanding of his situation, but Peter also could have handled it a little bit differently too, I think. Now, I know people have different views on intimacy, but it's not like she told him, listen, if you kiss another girl, I don't think I can move forward with this. Coitus is something he probably could have, if he wanted to, not done it, in my opinion. I think overall, Maddie's more upset that he betrayed her more so than like the actual act of what he did. But mature conversation, I think that they challenge each other in a good way. This isn't Victoria. If it was Victoria, Peter would probably be loving it and like propose right then and there. And he says, can we get through this together? And she says, I really want to. And he says, then let's do it. And I say, yes, let's do it. And it was all uphill from here. And Maddie tells him she loves him. And Peter says, how much? So now it's time for Maddie to get reintroduced to the family. Buckle up. So naturally now Madison has to talk about her issue with Peter because the parents know about it and the parents ask her about it. And this did not have to be discussed with parents, I don't think. You know, this is more of like a private thing. And now the parents are involved and it's all that they can talk about. And as Madison's talking about it, they show the faces and reactions of the family, and they don't look pleased. And I was convinced that this was a producer setup trying to make us think that they don't like Madison. Come to find out, they really don't like Madison, but we'll get there. Here comes Dad's question for Madison, where he wants to know if she feels they're completely compatible. Completely. That tells me this is not an objective question. Is anybody really 100% compatible? No. But Maddie's response is that she knows that they have differences, but she admires that Peter has a desire to grow. That to me felt like a very wise perspective, and it was just a really solid conversation. And she was very articulate. She even breaks down talking about just how she wants the best for Peter. She wants the best for Peter. Then Peter talks with his brother. And brother wants to know if Maddie is compatible with Peter's line dancing. Well, Peter says relationships come with compromise, and it appears his brother doesn't necessarily agree with that. Has he been in a relationship? And if he has, it must be all about him. You need compromise in some aspects. Don't compromise your whole life, but okay, compromise is important. And then brother has the nerve to say that Peter has a seemingly perfect girl on one side and Madison on the other. I don't think he meant to be harsh, but it was very harsh. So now we get to Maddie and Peter's mom. Oh, gosh. My blood boils just thinking about it. Now, obviously, we don't know what is said before and after what is shown to us on the show. But Mom is talking to her about how their lifestyles differ and pretty much says, don't change Peter. He's perfect the way he is. And she tells Maddie it's not okay for her to tell him what to do.
He needs to make his own decisions in these separate relationships.
And now props to Maddie here because she defends herself with such poise. She first says that she has beliefs and expectations that make her who she is and that she's proud of them and she's not going to apologize for it and she's not going to change it. And then she says, actually, I didn't tell him what to do. I was open with him about how it would make me feel and how it would affect me moving forward if he made this decision. And I can see how that feels like an ultimatum. It's like you're putting pressure on him, but there's nothing wrong with feeling that way. And if she didn't say it then, it would have come out later and Peter would have been like, why didn't you tell me this before? She might not have communicated it properly, but I still think it was best that she say something. And Maddie says it's all about whether or not it's worth fighting for. Yeah, okay. But then Mom says, if it's the right person, you'll know. You will know. I didn't know how to take that. Felt like an indirect message to stay away from my son. And that's the end of it. That was exhausting. You could tell Maddie was exhausted. I was exhausted. And then they say their goodbyes. Now Peter walks back in and Mom she starts crying.
She's not there for you.
She talks about how she prayed the right woman would be put in Peter's path. And Mother's intuition is never wrong. And apparently her intuition is Maddie's a nice girl, but Hannah Ann is an angel on earth. They are so hung up on this one thing. What if Peter told his parents that Hannah Ann stole Kelsey's champagne? This might be a whole different story. So all that wraps up quick, and Peter asks the audience if they felt like Peter's mom should have kept her opinion to herself. And I didn't actually think about this, but yeah, maybe she should have. If she wants to live by her own philosophy, let Peter make his own decisions. This is his journey, Mom. So the conversation finishes up with his family voicing not only their concerns, but their opinions. Are you willing to risk something so perfect in hopes that something will materialize? It's already materialized. There's something there, okay? They had an issue. Peter hasn't even fought with Hannah Ann. How do we know what's going to happen when that pops up? What happens when Hannah Ann gets mad at Peter because he won't take Instagram pictures for her? Just kidding, I like Hannah Ann, but really. And Peter just keeps fighting for her, and Mom starts crying again. I'm telling you, she's using this as a strategy. You can see her like gearing up for it. Peter even says, Mom, this has got to stop. And she says, but I'm crying. This is my tactic. Then the iconic line is finally present, and we find out she's actually talking about Hannah Ann, which means my prediction was very wrong. Now, I'm not a parent, and I don't want to pretend that I know what's best, but don't manipulate your kids, especially when they're 28 years old. And then the best part of all this is Peter's interview. I want Madi more than anything, and they're not the ones dating the women. I am. That was power. Best version of Peter we've seen thus far. Can we just talk about how different this would be if the stupid fantasy suite conversation never happened? Also, how long is this video? I have so much to talk about. So Peter and Madi get together for their final date, and the giddy greeting is back, and everything seems like it's just great. They take a helicopter ride over some sacred rock or something. Peter's hitting her with all these tour guide facts that he clearly studied before the date, and then Madison's got to ruin it. And she says she's having a hard time enjoying herself because she's now realizing that they are very different people, and it's time for her to surrender. Excuse me? After all that just happened, now they're sitting and talking, and we know what to expect, what's about to come here. And she breaks out the "Can love conquer all" quote again, and I liked it the first time, and this time it's a little bit more heartbreaking. But she connects it to how she wants it to work so badly. But it's that desire that clouds her vision, and she now knows that they probably can't give each other what they need. Poor Peter, oh my gosh, can we give the poor guy's heart a break for a minute? He gives it like a small attempt, a small fight, but then that's it. I mean, she probably made her point. So Madison cries, Peter cries, I cry. They crank up the volume on the heartbeats again. I'm trying to pay attention, and all I can see is them wafting away bugs. I think Madison's making a decision with her head and not her heart, which sometimes you have to do. I hate to admit that, but maybe in this situation, you don't have to do that. But at this point, can he really pick Hannah Ann and feel good about it? Can Hannah Ann really feel good about it, watching this all play out? Now it's the morning after, and Peter's got a date with Hannah Ann. But he first needs to sit with his counselor, Chris Harrison. Chris says, can you get over this heartbreak? Peter says he doesn't know yet, and that he's emotionally drained. And I gotta be honest, Chris also looks to be in a similar state. Maybe like he's in need of a shower. But right now, Peter is in a pickle with his final two, the final two. And not in a normal, like, who am I going to pick? It's like, somebody just dumped me. My heart is broken. I have another one left. Is she the one? And in his mind, he's probably thinking, I should have just gotten on the stupid plane with Hannah B. And now's the Hannah Ann date. And in the back of my mind, I'm feeling awful for her because I know so many things that she doesn't know. But those kangaroos were the cutest. Heartbreak is hard. It's one thing to break up with somebody and be like, oh man, that sucks. I feel bad. But for you to get dumped by someone else, it's like a whole different ballgame. Then the hotel suite portion comes, like it always does, where they sit and they talk to each other for the final time. And it's potentially night of inescapable doom. It was a good conversation, but also pretty sad. You can tell they're not on the same page. Hannah Ann always expresses her love, and Peter always tells Hannah Ann that she is his rock and that she's always there for him. Having someone you can rely on does make a good partner, but it also makes a good friend. She might just be a good friend that you did dirty things with. My heart was breaking for her, and I did not have a lot of pieces left to break. And tomorrow, less than 24 hours away, Peter says he needs to be sure about his decision before he makes it. Well, you've got literally a few hours to decide. And that's about it till we get to the preview portion. And Chris Harrison looks much healthier here, like he's shaved. And in these previews, we find out that Madi comes back because she apparently regrets her decision. We still have to find out who he's crying and talking to, saying, I'm so sorry. And then Mama Barbara starts crying again, hysterically. I can't deal with it. I'm going to bury her alive. Not really. I would dig her right back up after because I felt bad, but she makes me very angry. And so tonight, I guess we find out. And Peter also finds out, apparently. So Tuesday night's recap starts now. Wow. Okay. 6:30 in the morning. That explains this. And I just have to warn you, we're going to talk a lot about Peter's mom. A lot. I'm also going to try to fly through some parts because I know the first section of this video is already very long. So the episode starts out with Peter, and Peter saying that nothing is too big for true love, which to me, he was alluding to the fact that Madison left him, and if it was true love, she would have stayed. And then he says he has true love with Hannah Ann, and he's 100% sure about her. Threw me off guard. A little suspicious. Came out of nowhere. And he FaceTimes Hannah Ann's dad for her blessing, which I wondered how this was going to play out. But really, how has he lost his heartbreak so fast? Oh yeah, he didn't. Now Hannah Ann's getting ready for the proposal and she puts on a white dress. Why didn't anyone tell her how terrible of luck that is? Right then and there, I knew it wasn't going to end well. And then Chris comes out and says he just found out, that iconic line, that Hannah Ann might not be coming. This was a hoax. I don't care what you say. I think at the time, they felt like they needed more drama. And Hannah Ann's in her interview saying that she doesn't know what to do. She doesn't have confidence in Peter's feelings for her. So they're like, ooh, we should tell Peter she might not come. Meanwhile, she's in her car, just riding up. It was a setup. And why do they keep torturing their leading man all season? They tortured him. Now we get to the engagement. And this, I have to blow through this because in comparison to everything else, it was insignificant. The engagement. Peter has a tearful proposal, tells her he loves her, proposes, she says yes in an odd kind of excitement way. More of like a, oh my God, you picked me, not oh my God, we're getting married. I don't know, it was weird. So they're engaged, life is thrilling, but unfortunately we're only 20 minutes into the show and that tells me that this is not good. And we know Madison's still coming back at some point. So now here's where I get really mad. Peter goes to tell his family about his proposal. He says they're engaged and his parents and his brother are all holding hands in anticipation, really in hopes that it's not Madison.
Just tell us who it is.
Can you make it any more obvious that you don't want your son with Madi? And once they find out that it's Hannah Ann, cue Barb's hysterical crying. I guess that's what it was all about. And this lady is more in love with Hannah Ann than Peter is. But again, we know this isn't the end because cut to the live shot of Barb, not happy. So we go right to Peter in the hot seat on stage. He's talking about how he struggled to get over Madison, and Hannah Ann is backstage, not looking very happy. Peter's not looking happy, so then we reverse a few weeks and see when they met up in LA to talk. It was very tense, their greeting. It was like they were happy to see each other, but not that happy. But they both agree it's been hard. Peter again calls her a rock. Maybe she was one once in a school play. But ultimately he tells her there's no doubt that he loves her, but he cannot continue on with this, seeing how much she gives, and he cannot give the same in return. And this was a complete replay of Ari and Becca. Do you see what happens when you put people in this ridiculous situation? Bad things. This is the first time we ever really see Hannah Ann mad, and rightfully so. I'm sure she was very upset about the engagement. I think probably some underlying emotions were related to him having stronger feelings for another girl. Again, understandable. I would feel the same. And then she pulls out the Melissa Rycroft line of,
This was my first engagement. You took that from me. It's a once in a lifetime thing and you took it.
and she goes to the bathroom. Peter goes to find her, and again, we are back in the scene of Ari and Becca. But I think the emotions are reversed a little bit. You know, who's crying, and yeah. And then, boy, did Hannah Ann stick it to him. She's mad that he wasn't true to his word, and that he was always conflicted. Conflicted. Dating 15 women, and he's conflicted. Again, do you see what's wrong with this scenario? I know I almost went on the show, but that is neither here nor there. And as if we weren't already angry as all heck with Barb, Hannah Ann says to Peter, we are done. And Barb is just clapping with pride. That's my girl. She loves Hannah Ann more than her son. There's just no doubt. Does she not realize her son is crying? His heart is absolutely broken. Granted, he is sort of in the wrong, but it's your freaking son. You're like applauding his heartbreak. Now, I do feel bad for Hannah Ann, very much, but I also feel bad for Peter. He is showing very clear remorse, and he is apologizing profusely, and she just can't stop just stabbing him right in the heart. But I get it, because I think I would need to voice my frustrations too. I don't think I'd put a hand in his face. I think that might have taken it a little too far. But you know, it also might show her maturity a little bit. And we're back on the live stage, and Hannah Ann comes out to meet Peter for the first time. It's always a red dress after a breakup. Always. And Hannah Ann is laying on the disses. She has a diss for every response that Peter comes out with. All the while, Barb is cheering on Hannah Ann. And this is just getting so out of hand. Back in the day, she probably called the cops on Peter. Please arrest my son. Now again, I understand Hannah Ann's frustrations, and she deserves to be mad, 100%. But I think she took it maybe just a little too far. It felt like she had an agenda coming out onto the stage to have like this power exit. And she was like trying to garner the response of like, oh yeah, woman power, go Hannah Ann. When in actuality, I think she just came off, to me, as a little bit angry. I felt anger behind her words more so than wisdom. I feel like that sounds wrong. And I don't want to necessarily defend Peter in this situation, but it was more of a focus on her feelings instead of the overall situation. I don't know. That might be an unpopular opinion. So the engagement's over, obviously, and Peter still loves Madison. So Chris, who is apparently more of a dad to Peter than his own, goes to Auburn, Alabama to talk to Madison. And are you ready for more Barb drama? This was the worst of it all. Maybe. I don't know. Everything's up there. So Chris asks Maddie how she's been handling things, and she says it's been a struggle, to the point where she even had days that it was hard for her to eat. And what does Barb do? She rolls her eyes. Are you kidding me? I think that was just an earthquake. I'm not joking. Okay, hold on. Let me get my breath back. Where was I? Oh yeah, Barb's rolling her eyes. Is that what caused the earthquake? Okay, sorry. But anyway, at this point I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? Maybe I really will bury her alive. Not really, don't arrest me. And when Chris tells Maddie that Peter got engaged, she gets very emotional. And then Chris says he broke off the engagement. Maddie doesn't instantly get happy. She says, is he okay? She is a good woman, but she's going to take advantage of this second chance. And back on stage, Barb ain't happy. So she's in LA to meet up with Peter, and we find out this is just a couple of weeks ago from today. That makes me think that nobody knew what was going to happen because everything happened after filming had ended. That's where that all came from. But anyway, Peter doesn't know that she's showing up and is completely caught off guard, but very happy to see her. They have another talk, one of their many talks. Maddie says she still has so much love for him, and Peter says, I know I've made 1,000,001 mistakes, and yeah, it was probably that one mistake that was the problem. But they're ready to move forward together and give this relationship a shot. And they meet up on stage for the first time since that day. And now Chris opens it up to Maddie to give her side of things. And this kind of took forever. She was really thinking about her words a lot, so it wasn't all just coming out smoothly. And Chris is like nodding her along, like, okay, yep, come on. But ultimately, we find out that they are working on healing. They're getting through it together and taking things one day at a time. And then Chris turns it over to Barb. Barb, how are you feeling? She talks about why she loved Hannah Ann so much. She comes in and she was just so full of love. Why didn't she love Madison? Because she apparently made them wait 3 hours to meet her. Number one, you already met her. Number two, are you really going to be mad that she took time to make amends with your son so that they can go into this meeting with confidence? It's Barb's world, everybody, and we are just living in it. And I think Peter expects this because with everything, all of Barb's many crazy reactions and comments, Peter is just, he's like, this is how it is. This is my mom. There's no doubt that she has been like this his entire life. But to go back to that, don't try to tell me that things weren't already rocky with you and Madison. When Peter was there 2 days prior, just talking about Madison, they already were like, So you didn't already have some preconceived notion about how Madison was going to be? Don't try to justify your awful behavior. And now Madison's response is that you can't change the past, but she respects Peter's family and she will never say a bad word about them. That makes one of them. And Peter says he knows that their passion comes from a place of love. They're just worried that Madison wasn't on the same page as he was in terms of feelings. Clearly, that was not the only issue, because Peter asks them to accept that he is with Madison, and Barb not even looking at him. And then she says Peter is the only one compromising in that relationship. Maddie says, no, I disagree. I disagree. That is like such a solid statement for when there is conflict. She's not yelling. There's no backlash. She's just voicing her opinion and why. And she reminds Barb that it's a journey for both of them, not just Peter. That is correct. I think people forget what relationships are. Okay, it's not the Bachelor finds his little toy. It's a wife. The only way for Peter to succeed is to fail. He has to fail to succeed. This garnered a lot of boos from the audience and from my house. And Peter says, like, listen, I love this girl. That should be enough. Seriously, yes, it should. That should be enough. This is Madison. She has morals. She is a strong, kind person. It's not like she's roping Peter into some convict lifestyle. Why can't these parents support their son?
Oh, but everyone sees that it's not going to work. All the friends, all the family, it's not going to work.
Even if that's the case, let Peter find out for himself. You are his parent. Let him grow and learn. Dang it. How Madison stayed so strong throughout this thing, I will just never comprehend. She is like tough as nails. I would have been crying. And now, did you see when Chris asked for his dad's opinion and Barb turns her head and whispers something to him before he speaks? I'd say it was either a threat, a warning, or sorcery. We know who wears the pants. Felt like he was saying what was being asked of him or demanded of him. I am so happy for Peter and Madison. Not as happy as I could have been because of Barb, but this is going to be like a journey and a half for Madison. I feel bad for her. If you want the truth, Barb might hire a hitman, but not before she has to deal with all of the Barb memes coming her way. But anyway, that ends it. Besides Claire coming out, but that just paled in comparison. I'm really hoping for the best for Peter and Madison and that Barb leaves them alone, or at least reaches her son's maturity level at some point before her golden years. But that's it for this season. Sorry, I know this was already the longest video ever. But until next time, my friends, thanks for watching.